Welcome to the Shadow Talks. Without wasting time, let's go to the video.
Back in 2017, I moved to a quiet, rural town in Illinois. I barely knew anyone except my friend Clara, who thought she could help me settle in. She introduced me to an older couple looking for someone to watch their dogs while they were away. The house looked ordinary at first, a 1970s brick ranch, but the way they looked at me felt strange, almost like they were measuring me, weighing my reactions carefully. Inside, the house was filled with cameras, hallways, kitchen, living room, even the backyard. They explained it was for their firearm business. I ignored it, telling myself I just needed the money. That first night alone was quiet. The dog slept by my side, and for a moment, everything felt normal. On the second night, one camera went offline. I went to check the driveway. The dogs bolted through the doggy door, barking toward the dense woods. I blocked the door with a chair, but my heart raced. The next morning, the chair had moved across the room. The dogs were outside. Panic gripped me. I called Clara for help. For the next 4 days, I stayed on high alert, every sound making my heart pound. Then, one night, all cameras went offline. Close to midnight, the dogs barked again. I grabbed a knife, moving slowly toward the sound. A sudden thump echoed from the far end of the house, freezing me in place. I called out, first to the couple, then to Clara, but no answer came. Then my phone buzzed, a text from the wife. "Don't worry about the cameras, you're safe." My stomach dropped. They were thousands of miles away in Florida. How could they know I was awake, standing in the house, alone? Reluctantly, I checked the garage. My flashlight revealed an arm pressed against the wall near the door. My body froze. Fight or flight overtook me instantly. I ran, slammed the back door, grabbed my keys and sprinted outside to my car, heart hammering in my chest. I drove to the police station, still shaking. When I later looked back at the house, a car pulled into the driveway with its headlights off. My blood ran cold. They'd been watching me the entire time, planning every moment. I never returned. Clara didn't understand how strange the couple was. Even now, thinking about the dogs, the chair, and the cameras, I feel the panic from that night. I realize how close I came to being trapped, or worse. Even years later, the fear lingers. Seconds away from danger are eternal when you realize someone is watching. Every creak of the floor, every shadow at a room makes me remember that night vividly. That night changed me. I am safe now, but the memory of being helpless and observed, the unseen arm, and the sense of premeditated threat is something I carry every day. I bartend at a bar near Baltimore. No waiters, just a counter in the kitchen. That weekend, it was packed with college kids drinking loudly, shouting, and moving through the crowded space. Amid the chaos, I noticed an elderly couple sitting perfectly still in a corner booth. They hadn't ordered anything. No drinks, no food. They weren't speaking or even looking at each other. Their stillness stood out in the chaos, like two statues in the middle of a storm. Every instinct told me something was wrong. I approached them and asked if they wanted anything. The woman didn't move. The man turned slowly, pale, sunken eyes, and shook his head once. I felt my stomach drop and quickly returned to the bar, hands shaking. I tried to focus on other customers, but every glance toward the corner brought a wave of dread. Later, I checked again. They were gone. Just empty chairs and a silence that pressed against the room like a heavy fog. Closing time approached, and I saw them again outside under the streetlight. Two dark figures, perfectly still. I jumped into my car, locked the doors, and drove off, heart hammering. No one else seemed to see them. My coworker insisted she saw no one. The bar had been noisy, chaotic, yet somehow I was the only one who witnessed them. The realization hit me. They were not meant to be seen by anyone else.
Even now, I replay the moment in my mind, the silence, the stillness, and the unnatural stare of those eyes. It was like they existed outside the normal world, only acknowledging me.
I never return to that bar alone at night. The memory of their gaze lingers, a cold, hollow weight that sits behind my eyes, reminding me that some things are not meant to be confronted. I wonder if they are still out there, watching, waiting for someone else who can notice them. The thought alone chills me. Even today, I cannot erase the memory of that night. A crowd of people, yet I was alone in witnessing something beyond understanding, and it has haunted me ever since.
My best friend's dad worked as a logger in the Pacific Northwest, operating a massive tree-cutting machine. One year, he and his partner Griffin were sent to a remote mountain, isolated for weeks. The job was grueling, long hours, deep in dense forest where no one could hear a scream. Strange things started almost immediately. Voices came over their radios, static at first, then muffled conversations. Footprints appeared where no one had walked. Small campsites and tents were discovered, abandoned but clearly used. One night, they found a tent with disturbing items, children's underwear, rope, duct tape, and horrifying sketches. A fresh apple suggested someone had been there very recently. Fear gripped them, but the work had to continue. Footsteps outside the camper. Door handles moved slowly. Scratches on the walls. My friend's dad grabbed his unloaded gun, heart racing. Griffin had nothing. The sense of being hunted was overwhelming. Suddenly, an attacker appeared, slashing his face. Griffin jumped on him while the other fled into the darkness. They escaped, but the terror lingered. Weeks later, another worker was found murdered nearby. No arrests. The mountain felt alive. Every sound was amplified, the rustle of leaves, snapping branches, the wind itself. Every shadow could be someone waiting, and they always felt just beyond reach. After that night, my friend's dad could never sleep. PTSD haunted him. Every creak, every whisper in the wind reminded him that the forest had eyes, and they had watched him. The forest took its mark, and he would never forget it. He told the story as a warning. There are places so remote that something unseen thrives, waiting for the unprepared. Every time I think about deep woods, my skin crawls. I imagine them watching silently, moving unseen, shaping fear in every shadow. Even today, the story is burned into my memory. The mountains remember, and so do I. You don't forget being hunted by something that cannot be confronted. I had just made it through the window, running toward James by the lake, but as I sprinted, I saw him curse. Our kayak was gone.
From the side of the abandoned house, a shadowy figure sprinted toward us. Big, fast, impossible to get a clear look. James jumped straight into the icy lake without hesitation. I followed, teeth chattering, arms burning from the cold. We swam desperately, every stroke feeling endless, until finally reaching the faint lights of James's house. Inside, we locked every door and called the police. An hour later, they found the lake house empty, abandoned for years. I still don't know who set the trap or why. Friends said whoever planned it got cold feet. I can't imagine what might have happened. Even now, the image of that figure chasing us haunts me. The adrenaline, the fear, the cold. It all feels so real. I've learned that some nights carry dangers unseen, traps laid by someone who might never act, but the threat alone is enough. Every time I pass that abandoned house, I glance nervously, heart racing. It stands silent, but I know something was there. Fear doesn't always come from what you see. It comes from what could have happened in the cold shadows you barely escaped.
I work clearing foreclosed homes. Most are quiet, empty, forgotten. But one house in upstate New York was different. It felt wrong.
Windows were shut, doors locked, but the air inside smelled stale, heavy, almost alive. I started cataloging the property.
My phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. Static, then silence. No signal out here, yet someone called. Moving through the house, I felt watched. Every step echoed, but no one was there. I started noticing small things. Objects moved slightly. A chair facing the wrong way. Faint footsteps.
My heart raced, but I kept working. Foreclosures aren't glamorous, but fear doesn't pay the bills.
Late that night, I saw it, a shadow flitting across the room. I froze.
I called it in, thinking maybe it was my mind, but even the officers felt uneasy, scanning the empty house.
Nothing was found, yet I can't shake the feeling that someone or something was watching me work. Some houses aren't empty. They just wait silently for you to notice. And when you do, it's already too late. I went to visit my friend Scott in a remote mountain cabin. At first, it felt cozy, rustic, but then I noticed the hallway, dark, endless, silent. That first night, fast footsteps ran across the floor above me. No one else was home.
The next night, scraping sounds from downstairs. Something dragged along the floor, then stopped.
Soft taps on the wall, faint whispers, and Scott staring down the hallway like he expected something. I stayed alert, trying to sleep, but at 2 a.m. the thumping returned, closer, deliberate, knowing I was awake. On the third night, the fear grew unbearable. I could feel unseen eyes watching, waiting for a reaction. Every glance toward the hallway made my stomach drop, my pulse spike, my mind race. Sleep was impossible. The cabin was alive, breathing, shifting just out of reach of my senses. Scott never explained, never acknowledged the noises, but I knew something had followed us there. Some places aren't haunted by ghosts. They're haunted by the waiting, the unseen, the unknown. My friend's dad worked as a tree saw operator in the remote Pacific Northwest, alone, isolated, pushing himself for 16-hour days. 10 days into a remote project, strange voices came over the radio, faint, static-laden, unintelligible. The voices grew clearer, unsettling, casual but wrong. Footprints, makeshift camps appeared where no one should have been. They found a hidden tent with a sleeping bag and a duffel filled with terrifying items, children's underwear, rope, duct tape. That night, the radio crackled again, snippets of conversation, mundane words masking horror. The next night, footsteps outside the camper, heart pounding, unarmed, trapped in a nightmare. The door handle rattled, then came scratching, long, deliberate, terrifyingly close. They froze, knowing they were utterly vulnerable. No police, no help, just the forest closing in. Every night became a struggle for sanity, a fight against unseen forces in the remote woods. Some places hide darkness not in legend, but in reality, waiting for those who dare to work there. A friend brought a foreclosed house cheaply, thinking it was a bargain. The first night, doors slammed on their own, lights flickered, objects seemed slightly moved. The air felt heavy, almost alive, as if the house were watching. By the second night, whispers echoed through hallways, faint, unintelligible, but unmistakably human. Each word seemed deliberate, as if someone was speaking directly into my friend's mind. When guests visited, they reported similar experiences: cold spots, sudden chills, objects moving slightly. One claimed the walls themselves seemed to shift subtly,
breathing with a life of their own. One night, the front door slammed open while no wind blew. My friend and I froze, realizing the house seemed aware, observing, waiting for a reaction.
Even standing in a single room, the air shifted. A subtle pressure on the shoulders, a faint brush of breath, a sensation that someone or something was just behind you. Attempts to leave were met with unusual resistance. Doors that normally opened refused. Keys fell from hands. The house itself seemed to delay our exit. We tried filming, recording sound, but the cameras captured nothing unusual. Yet we all felt it, the weight of unseen eyes, watching, patient and deliberate.
The house was alive in ways we couldn't explain, its presence pervasive and unsettling, making it impossible to relax even for a few moments.
We left in the early morning, but every step outside the door felt like leaving something behind, an awareness that would remain with us forever.
Some places aren't haunted by spirits, they're haunted by awareness, the unsettling feeling that a building can notice, judge, and remember your every move. I returned to my childhood home after many years. Everything looked the same, but one room felt wrong. A chill hung in the air, and the shadows didn't match the light. At night, a scratching sound came from the closet. I told myself it was old wood, the house settling. But the sound repeated, deliberate, patient. I turned on the lights, nothing, but the feeling persisted, like something unseen was crouched in the corner, observing, waiting. Over several nights, whispers filled the room, faint, almost imperceptible, sometimes words, sometimes unintelligible, always close to my ear.
I started leaving the door slightly open, hoping it would leave me alone, but the scratches and whispers always returned, never fading as if tied to the room itself.
Objects moved. My childhood toys were displaced. The sensation of being watched intensified, heavy and suffocating. I never saw it clearly, just glimpses, shapes, shadows that didn't belong, but I knew it was there, hiding in plain sight. One night, I left the room, never returning. The house felt empty, yet the air still carried that same oppressive weight, as if it remembered my fear. Even years later, I dream of that room, the shape, the whispers, the cold pressure of eyes I never saw. It follows me. Some things from childhood are meant to stay forgotten, but occasionally they awaken, reminding you that you are never truly alone.
I woke up to a knock at the door, alone in my apartment. It was late. Hesitant, I peered through the peephole. Nothing but darkness.
I called out. Silence. The knock repeated, soft, deliberate, measured, as if the person outside knew I was listening. Cautiously, I unlocked the door. Empty hallway, nothing, only a faint draft brushing against my cheek, sending a shiver down my spine. Days passed, and I noticed things. Objects slightly moved, footsteps when alone, whispers I couldn't place. The fear grew. I installed cameras. Reviewing footage, I saw glimpses, shapes darting past, brief flashes of eyes in the dark corners of my rooms. The realization hit. Whatever was there wasn't random. It was aware, patient, and watching every move, learning my routines. I tried to leave. Doors wouldn't lock properly, windows jammed. It seemed the presence could control the environment itself. Even during the day, I felt eyes on me. The ordinary world no longer felt safe. The unseen lurked just beyond my vision. It culminated in one night. A whisper, my name, directly behind me. I spun around, empty room, yet I knew it was there. Some presences are patient. Some wait years for you to notice. And when you finally realize it, there's nothing you can do but live with the knowledge that you are never alone.